And then they come. But next campsite, John was over telling them that there was a campsite. And I was saying, yes, there was. And this man was from another country, I don't remember which country, but he said, you were so proud. I believe you would.
I forgot to start the recording.
That's okay.
Shoot.
Sorry.
You'll have to tell them that.
You really felt the warmth of it next to your leg?
That's how close he was.
That close?
I'm serious.
He was
The
breathing.
breath was right.
So I was at Stephen Lanusa's house today, and he showed a picture of what it was like when his garage door, metal garage door, was taken apart by a bear. And then they put up a new one and fixed it, and I mean, they are strong. They are very strong. And you're gone.
I was really lucky.
You were.
And
To
it
see it
probably
and to live.
was a good idea not to.
John, John, before you continue, the problem with having the presenter so far back from the camera is that the voice is breaking up really badly because it's such a low level. So you may need to move the computer forward to get a good recording.
We'll try that. Or I'll put it here.
So say something, John. Let me see how that works.
I'm really sorry I forgot to start the recording. So Chris's story didn't get recorded. I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Nick?
Yes. I think that was the thing, that it was just too far back for the settings on the microphone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell a story. Another bear story from Yosemite. After hearing Chris's story, I want to tell a bear story. And there's a lot of, actually, I'm going to tell two short stories. One year we were at Yosemite, and I always cook the breakfast. I'm an early riser. I got up and I was getting things ready to cook French toast, which is what I like to cook. And the people next to us in the campsite next to us were already up, and they were getting stuff ready and had food on the table. And all of a sudden I heard some yelling and screaming. A bear had come and snatched a loaf of bread off of their table and started running away towards our campsite. And so we had been told by the rangers that black bears are really not very aggressive, and they don't eat people. They just like the food that we have. They're much different than brown bears. Grizzly bears are very dangerous. But the black bears, you have to show them who's boss. So you stand tall and you make lots of noise, and you never turn your back, because turning your back is an act of submission. And then you can never establish your superiority or your presence to the bear. So the bear was coming towards me, not really running, but definitely coming towards our campsite. So I grabbed a pan and a spoon, and I started banging on it and yelling, and the bear turned around and ran away. And of course that woke everybody else up. So then Chris got up, and she noticed the bear didn't go very far. It was eating that loaf of bread. It's just like maybe
Lying on its side.
yeah, lying on the loaf of bread. And so she took the pan and the spoon. Wasn't that what it was? And she started going towards the bear. And the bear got up and started moving away. And I don't know if chase is the right word, but she pursued the bear, not at a fast pace, just walking slowly, banging on the pan, waking up everybody in the campground. And from where I was on our side, I could hear her all the way around the campground. Go ahead.
The bear would go, oops, and back.
Just loop around.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that's a real short one. Now, the other one I wanted to tell is I got up very early before the sun was up, and I had to use the restroom. I did that, but it was kind of the pre-dawn where there's just an inkling of light starting. The sun hasn't come up yet. And so I thought, I might as well stay up, but it's too early to fix breakfast, and I think I want to take a walk. So we were kind of in the middle of the campground. I walked out towards the edge, and I see this bear who had broken into the bear box. The Park Service had a really bad design. They've gone through several different iterations. But at this time, they had a bear box that was quite secure if you closed it all the way. But the people who closed it, if they weren't really noticing whether it clicked shut, it wasn't all the way shut. And so the bear would go around and bang, bang, and if it was loose, it would pop open. So this bear had apparently done that, and he was eating stuff out of the bear box. And there was a picnic table between me and the bear, and the people whose sight the bear was in were sound asleep. The site to the left, there were two women standing there, and I said, give me a pot and a spoon, I'll scare the bear away. And they said, oh, no, he's cute. Don't scare him away. So I took it upon myself, and I stood as tall as I could, and I went, rah! The bear stopped eating. It stood up on its hind legs and went, rah! Back into eating. And I was startled. I had never had a bear do that before. Yeah, and I could sort of jump backwards, but I didn't turn my back to the bear. And I stepped forward again, and I was about ready to roar at it again. And the people on the right-hand side, they had this huge flashlight. It was almost like a spotlight. And they showed it on the bear, and the bear did not like that. And I went, roar! And so the bear stuffed something in its mouth and started walking out of the campground, because this campsite was right on the edge. And just as the bear went by the tent that the people whose site it was were sound asleep, well, they had been awakened by now. And just as the bear walked by, I hear this, and this woman sticks her head out, and this bear goes by, and she screams. So that particular bear was a problem. And when they have problem bears, they try to trap them and relocate them far away. This bear was too smart to be trapped. They try shooting beanbags at them to try to scare them away. And so they were having a problem with this bear because it was really going after people's food, and it liked the morning. I loved breakfast. They named the bear Aunt Jemima because the bear liked breakfast. And it would come into a campsite where people were sitting at the table eating, and it would run and jump on the table. Well, everybody was scattered. And then the bear would eat all their food. But that's dangerous. The Park Service was afraid someone was going to die. And so they had a specialist come from the Park Service who was a bear expert. And he wanted to observe the bear and see if he could figure out where the bear was going, and maybe he would set a trap. And so there were this big hill of rocks next to the campground, and he climbed up on top, and he was watching and to see where the bear was coming in from. And no bear, so he gave up. He turned around. There was the bear behind him. So this was one smart bear. Unfortunately, because the bear was so smart, the final thing they do is they shoot and kill the bear, which they did this bear, which is really sad because they couldn't catch it. Anyway, so those are my bear stories.
That was a good story. Oh my gosh.
So Nick, do you have a story for us?
I do, and it's not the story I'm going to be using for the genre a concert on Wednesday. But this was something that I was reminded of by reading Jane Yolen's version of it. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's a very prolific author. I've been in communication with her for many years, and the running joke is if you were to read one of her books every day of the year, you would not have read all of her books after a year. Because I think she passed 400 a little while ago as far as her books. But she is known for gathering folk tales and then either twisting them or rethinking them in terms of explaining the differences between versions or just having her own version of a story. And this one, she realized that she spent several, or until recently, she spent several months of the year in Scotland. And there's a well-known story there where there's sort of three interwoven and contradictory versions of the story. And the reason I found this particular story interesting was years ago, I had used this same story to explain an interesting thing about a movie and a TV show. You see, if you've ever watched either the Highlander movie or the Highlander TV show, you might be wondering why the two characters are both named MacLeod. And my reasoning was it's because the MacLeod family comes by immortality naturally. And this story is why. You see, hundreds of years ago, when Dunvegan was relatively new as a castle and a fortress, the MacLeods had that as their clan home. This was where at least two-thirds of the MacLeods considered to be their homeland. But Dunvegan was in an interesting place, for there were always legends about how it was near to ways into the lands of the Danshi, the fair folk. And obviously, nobody normally went there, but there were all the warnings that were given to all the young boys and girls about why not to go into the land of the fair folk. And most people listened. But there was one lad, about 15 years old he was when it happened, and his dog had gotten loose. Now, this was a fine foggy day when the dog had gotten loose, and you could hear the dog barking off into the distance and farther into the distance. And he tried to follow the dog, and he didn't find the dog. He just found more and more foggy pathways. But finally, he found himself standing on a stone bridge. Now, this was odd because there was no stone bridge in the vicinity of Dunvegan. So he looked around and he figured, what the heck, I'll cross the bridge. And he crossed the bridge, and there, as the fog lifted, he saw his dog in the distance on a hill nearby. And the dog was barking happily and frantically. Now, this was not a dog that was much for frantic because the dog was as old as the boy. But there was a young woman standing next to the dog, petting him, and that seemed to be the reason why he was so happy. Well, he walked up the hill and spoke to her and said, "Pardon me, but that's my dog you've got there that you're petting." "Ah," said the young lady, "he's my dog now, for you see, he came over the bridge and he accepted food from my hand, and it would be dangerous for him to go back." What do you mean?" "Well, don't you know the stories? Once you've eaten food here in this land, going back to your home could be deadly." "Well, but he's my dog." And he thought and said, "If it's true that coming home with me would kill him, I can't ask that. But in the proper way of it, can you give me payment for the dog?" And she said, I'll give you payment to prove where you've been if anyone asks. And she leaned forward and kissed him on the forehead. And he thought, that's a strange form of payment, but all right. And can I come back to see you again? Well, she said, that's not a good idea. Maybe in time, though. And he went back and crossed the bridge alone and went back to his home. And when he walked back into Dunvegan, everybody looked at him kind of oddly because he didn't know that he had a mark on his forehead. And his parents came and said, where have you been? And where did you get that mark? Oh, that must be where the lady kissed me on the forehead to pay for my dog. To pay for your dog? You took a fairy's kiss to pay for your dog? And he said, well, maybe. It was on the other side of a stone bridge that I don't remember. Well, his parents told him, forget about all that and forget about your dog. For if your dog's crossed that bridge, it's not coming back. But, he was a teenage boy and she was a very pretty young lady and he couldn't forget about her. And his parents introduced her to all the fine young women that lived near Dunvegan, but none of them quite matched up to the one who had kissed him on the forehead. He couldn't forget her. 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, he was coming into his majority and being acknowledged as heir to the clan, and he still hadn't found anyone that he could think of as highly as he thought of her. So one night, without asking his parents, he went off to look for that bridge. It was another foggy night, and he looked and listened, and finally he heard in the distance what sounded like his dog. A dog that would be over 20 years old now if it was him, but it still sounded like his dog. And he got closer and closer to the sound, and he found that stone bridge, the one that he hadn't seen for 6 years now. And he crossed the bridge, and there on the other side, he saw the young lady playing with his dog, still happy and healthy at his age. Ah, she said, you've come back. You should not have done that. And he said, but you're all I've thought about for 6 years. I wanted to come back and see you again. You're a fine young man now, but surely you've been told that even if I were to go back with you, even if I were to fall in love with you and marry you, I couldn't stay with you forever. And he thought and said, even if you could only stay for a while, it's worth having. And so he said, will you come back across the bridge with me? I'll come back across the bridge with you. And if it happens that we marry, I have to let you know that I can only stay for a year or an heir. And he thought about it. Maybe in a year, or by the time an heir was born, she would change her mind and not want to go back home. So they went back across the bridge, and both of them told the dog to stay on the side of the bridge that he'd been on. But when they had gone, he crossed the bridge back into the world he'd come from originally. And all his years caught up with him all at one time, and he ran no more. But the young man and the young woman went back to Dunvegan, and he introduced her to his parents. And they saw that he was still besotted with love for this clearly fairy woman. Remember, she said to him, a year or an heir, that's all I can promise you. So they were wed. And they were very happy. But near the end of that year, a baby was born. A fine, lusty baby with a great voice and a cry you could hear for a mile. So it was that she said, and I must leave soon. Make sure you have a good nursemaid, one that will care for the baby as I would have. And he tried to talk her into staying, but a year or an heir, that's all I could promise you. And so it was that she left. Well, the family was still celebrating the birth of the baby, and they were having so much fun with the partying that the nursemaid made sure the baby was tucked in bed and sound asleep and went off to enjoy just a bit of the party. But don't you know that baby woke up and was all by itself and did exactly what a baby would do and began to cry out loud because its mother wasn't there, the nursemaid wasn't there, it was there by itself and not happy about it. Well, the fairy woman who had crossed back over the bridge by then, she was all the way to her own home. But there's some things only a mother can hear. And this was one of them. The cry of her firstborn child. It was clearly unhappy. And so she picked up a piece of cloth. Silk it was, or the fairy equivalent of it. And she took it back with her and went back and sang to the baby in the bedroom at Castle Dunvegan and wrapped the baby in the yellow silk. Oh, the baby was so happy, cried itself to sleep. Its mother left and was never seen in this world again. But when the nursemaid went up to check on the baby, it was wrapped in yellow silk that she had not seen before. She went down and got the father, and he came back up. It was silk so thin and so beautiful that it couldn't be from anywhere nearby. And he knew who had left it there. Well, as the story goes, that silk, after the baby was grown, was still unstained from anything the baby had done while it was wrapped around it. And it became a flag, the flag at Castle Dunvegan. It was carried in times of battle. Sometimes the Clan MacLeod won the wars, and sometimes they lost. But always at the direst moments, there was a yellow flag flying at the head of their troops. Now, some say that in times of war, the men of Dunvegan survived the battles better than anyone else would have. Others say they simply weren't afraid of death because they'd seen things that were different, perhaps because of having that flag around the castle. The truth of the matter is that modern folks say that it's a piece of silk that's more than 1,500 years old. It's hard to find silk that lasts that long unless it's a very special weave from a very special place. But with the blood of the fairies running through them and through the heirs of the MacLeods, Some say it's because there's blood of those who do not die from age intermingled with the blood of the Scots in the Clan MacLeod. And that's the story of the fairy flag.
Beautifully told, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, that's great. Okay, do you have a story to tell, or did you just come to listen?
I just came back, like, with all the animal stories, I have like a short one I could share. That like isn't
Sure.
I'll give you one. Inspiration. I'm gonna tilt it up so you can see my face.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That works.
Okay. So long time. No. Anyway, so some time ago, it was a few years ago, I was in Brazil with my mom, and we're at my grandpa's house, and my mom's from Brazil. She was born and grew up there. So we were there, and the day after, we were gonna go to travel to go and visit my grandpa's brother because he wasn't doing too well. So my mom was like, "Okay, don't go to sleep too late." I'm like, "Sounds good, cool." So they go to their rooms, they go to sleep, they do their thing, and I'm awake, and it's like almost midnight, so I'm like, I should go to sleep now. It's getting a bit late. So I get up, I open the door, and right there on the floor, spider, that big, all legs. And I was like, I looked at it, I'm like, oh no. And it was right in the way because I wanted to go to the bathroom to go brush my teeth. But it was in my way. So I was like, what am I going to do? My mom's asleep. My grandpa's asleep. I don't want to wake them up. Okay, I'm going to call my dad. Because he was in California, so it was like 8 p.m. I think, or something like that for him, probably around that time. I'm like trying to call him at first it wasn't working. I'm like, oh no, I need to talk to somebody. And then finally it goes through, and like I texted him, and then I'm like, Dad, there's a spider. I'm scared. And he goes, just show them what I'm drinking. And he's drinking like a can of like there's like an alcoholic beverage that's called Tiger's Blood. Because I go, Dad, this isn't funny. This isn't funny. It's a big one. So I got on the phone with him, and I'm like, Dad. And then like if I move to the side, you can see like the glare from his eyes. At a point too, so I was like, ooh, Dad, I don't know what to do. He's like, I have 3 options. A, you chase it out of the house. B, you capture it and then take it out of the house. Or C, you have to kill it. So I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't want to be running through the house. All the lights are turned off. I'm gonna have to go turn them on while I lose the spider. I don't have a container to trap this thing. I only have one option. So I'm like, I'm like, there's how. And I'm over here. What I'm scared is that it's gonna jump. So I'm like, I hope it doesn't jump. If I kill it, I need to get my guts together. I need to get it first go. So I'm like, okay, I grab my shoes. So I grab one shoe in my hand, and then I'm gonna grab the other in my other hand. My dad's like, okay, if you're gonna kill it, let me put the phone down. So you pay attention. Okay, I got it. I grab the 2 shoes. I go. First one, it sidesteps. And then it's like, oh, I get it. I'm like, oh, I got it. And at that point, I was done. I was like, I'll brush my teeth in the morning. I'm to bed. So go to the bathroom and then have there be another spider in there. Because all this time I was thinking, I can't just leave this spider because I don't want it to go and crawl into where my mom's sleeping and bug her, and I don't want it to crawl into my room and bug me. We need to take care of it. So I just left the dead bug right there. I went to sleep, and I said, I'm going to go to sleep, figure this out in the morning. Then I told my mom the next day in the morning, and I was like, oh, that's what I saw on the floor. But a few days later, we ended up going and stopping by my aunt's house. And where she lives, that city, like, sometimes I get floods. But she lives, like, farther, like up kind of on the, like, hill a bit, so it doesn't ever really get to her place. But there's a lot of rain recently, so she had said there's, like, a spider that was in her like living room, and her daughter were like chasing around, but it was a jumping spider, so it was jumping everywhere. So I'm like, I'm very happy the spider I had to deal with was not a jumping spider.
So we had a person who was from Brazil who used to come to our group and tell stories. She was interesting. Remember her?
I don't.
You don't remember?
When's?
She was very, very dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
What? Let's say this. I don't know. She had an unusual name. I forget what it was, and she did parties. She did entertainment at parties, and could do things with balloons. And anyway, she was from Brazil.
Brazilians are they have personality. They're very. We walk out with friends. My mom, she has like a group of like Brazilian ladies she gets together with every month, and they like go from like house to house. So like one month somebody will host, the next month somebody else. The way she figured out about this group was she was at the store, and I think it was like the lady in front of her was in this group, and then they're talking. They're like, "Oh, I'm listening to all of this," and then they're like, "You should join our group," and that's how she joined the group. She's from like the store. She's talkative. She's fun.
Good story. Good story.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to tell the story I had planned on telling. I hadn't planned on telling bear stories. That I was inspired by Chris.
She's a bad influence on you.
Yes. That's saying there. Why is it saying that? Can you still hear me, Nick?
Yes.
So the story I planned for tonight is one I haven't told in a while, and I need to tell stories so I don't forget them completely. So this actually is from a children's book written by William Steig, and it's called Dr. DeSoto. Dr. DeSoto was a very good dentist. He also happened to be a mouse. And because he was a mouse, he had a very small dentist chair and very delicate dentist instruments. And he was great for small animals like gophers and chipmunks and squirrels. But he also would work with larger animals, medium-sized animals like pigs and goats. And for them, he would bring a ladder and climb up to reach the mouth to work on it. But he also could work on very large animals like horses and cows, and he would wear a harness. And attached to the harness was a rope that went up to the ceiling, around a pulley, came down, and then there was a winch that his wife, who was also his assistant, would turn the crane and lift him up to the mouth of the horse or the cow, and they'd open their mouth, and he would step into the mouth to examine the teeth, and he would wear booties to keep his feet dry. And they loved Dr. DeSoto because he had such small, delicate tools, and he seemed to be able to do the dental work without causing too much pain, and did a good job. And so all the animals really, really liked going to Dr. DeSoto for their teeth care. But he would not work with animals that were dangerous to mice. And his sign said so. Big sign outside said, Dr. DeSoto, dentist, cats and other dangerous animals not treated. Well, one day, and he had a system devised to screen the people. So his office really was a 2-story building, and the dentist's office was in the second floor, and the first floor was the outside door you come in, but it was always locked. You couldn't come in. And you had to push a buzzer, and Dr. DeSoto and his wife would go to the window. They'd look down to see who was at the door, and they would unlock the door if it was an animal that they wanted to treat. But they would not let in even the most timid-looking cat or any other animal that they deemed to be dangerous to them. Well, one day, the doorbell rang, and Dr. DeSoto and Mrs. DeSoto went and looked out the window, and there was a well-dressed fox. And he had a big bandage wrapped around his head and his jaw, and he was holding one side of his face, and he was moaning and groaning. And Dr. DeSoto called out, Sir, I can't treat you. Didn't you see my sign? Oh, please, pleaded the fox. My tooth is killing me. You've got to show me mercy and get rid of this infected tooth. Well, Dr. DeSoto stepped back from the window and talked to his wife and said, what do you think? And she said, well, I don't know. He is in a lot of pain, but he is a fox. And Dr. DeSoto said, well, surely he wouldn't eat us if we help him. And so he pushed the button and let the fox in. So the fox ran up the stairs. He sat down on the floor as the dentist instructed him to. And he said, oh, thank you. You've got to get rid of this pain. It's so awful. And so Dr. DeSoto said, oh, unwrap it. And I'm going to bring the ladder over. Open your mouth. And so the dentist climbed up the ladder, and the fox opened his mouth, and he looked inside, and oh, God, very bad breath. Most likely made worse by the fact that there was a very infected tooth in the fox's mouth. And so then Dr. DeSoto said, I can pull that infected tooth out, and I'll make a new tooth that can go in its place, and you can come back tomorrow and I'll put it in. Oh, thank you, said the fox. And so Dr. DeSoto brought over a mask with a tank and put the mask on the fox's face and said, take a deep breath, and he breathed in the anesthesia that sent him off into dreamland. And as Dr. DeSoto was getting ready, the fox was talking in his sleep, and he said, oh, how I love them with a fine white wine and just a pinch of salt. And Dr. DeSoto could guess what the fox was dreaming about, or at least he worried that he was dreaming about eating the mice. So when he went up the ladder to work on the mouth, he brought a stick to prop the mouth open so it wouldn't close on him. And he went in and he secured a clamp onto the infected tooth, was tied to a rope that went up to the ceiling around the pulley and down to the winch. And the two of them turned the crank slowly, and the rope was really tight until pop, out came the infected tooth. And then quickly, Dr. DeSoto went up the ladder. He stuffed the gaping hole where the tooth used to be with gauze and put some anesthetic on it and waited for the fox to wake up. Well, the fox woke up, and already he was feeling better, but he was really woozy. And Dr. DeSoto said to him, the infected tooth is out, the other teeth look fine. Come back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and I'll have a new tooth for you to put in your mouth. And the fox said, oh, thank you. and he got up and he sort of staggered, still slightly under the anesthesia, and he went down the stairs and out. And as he was walking home, the fox began to wonder, would it be shabby of me to eat them after he gives me the new tooth? Well, back at the dentist's office, Dr. DeSoto and his wife were worried about what the fox was dreaming about when he said he liked them with white wine and a pinch of salt. So that night, well, first of all, they worked on making the gold tooth and had that ready. But that night they couldn't sleep because they were worried. What are we going to do? He's a fox. He might eat us. And the wife said, well, but we've helped him. Surely he wouldn't. And Dr. DeSoto said, but he's a fox. How can we trust a fox? We should have never let him in. And she said, well, let's not let him back in. And then Dr. DeSoto said, no, I can't do that. Once I start a job, I have to finish it. My father taught me that's the way you do business. So we got to let him in. We got to think of something. And they talked, and finally they came up with an idea that allowed them to go to sleep. Well, the next morning at 10, a very different fox showed up. He was very happy. He wasn't moaning and groaning in pain. And he pushed the doorbell, and they let him in, and he ran up the stairs, sat down, and smiled. And Dr. DeSoto brought the ladder over, and he said, well, open your mouth. I need to take the gauze out and see how it looks. And so Dr. DeSoto stepped in to take the gauze out, and just like that, the fox's mouth shut. And then he opened it up and said, oh, just kidding. Don't fool around, said Dr. DeSoto. This is no game. I'm here to help you. And so the fox nodded. And so just then the fox noticed that Mrs. DeSoto was carrying this gold tooth to bring to the dentist. And the fox's eyes lit up because it looked so beautiful. And he was thinking, oh, yes, wouldn't it be wonderful to use that brand new gold tooth to eat these two when they're finished? And so at that point, the fox had pretty much decided that's what he was going to do. So Dr. DeSoto took the tooth and he put it in the fox's mouth. He attached it to the other teeth so it would stay. And then he stepped out and he said, now, I'm almost done. There's one more thing. And that is, I have recently developed a new treatment for teeth that if I paint your teeth with this new treatment, you will never ever have a cavity or an infected tooth for the rest of your life. Would you like to be one of the first to try this out? And the fox thought, oh, yes, that sounds great. I mean, he thought it was a good idea not to ever go through that pain again. And so while Dr. DeSoto waited for his assistant, his wife, to bring the bucket with the paintbrush in it, the fox was feeling that new tooth with his tongue, and he thought, oh, this is beautiful. I definitely am going to enjoy eating them. And so Dr. DeSoto climbed up the ladder and he said, open your mouth. I just have to paint this solution on your teeth. And so he was painting the teeth, and his wife was pointing to places he had missed. And then he said, now shut your mouth for 60 seconds to allow it to soak in to the teeth to have full effect. So the fox closed his mouth tightly, teeth clenched together, and after 60 seconds was up, the fox tried to open his mouth and he couldn't. His mouth was glued shut. And then the dentist said, oh, I forgot to tell you, you're not going to be able to open your mouth for the rest of the day, but then you will be able to. and you'll be protected for the rest of your life. Isn't that wonderful? And the fox didn't know what to do. He was stunned. And finally, he said through clenched teeth, "Thank you very much." And he got up and he walked out and down the stairs and out the door. And Dr. DeSoto looked at his wife and he said, "You know, I think we ought to take the rest of the day off because we really accomplished something today. Today, we outfoxed a fox." I hadn't told that story since the international celebrate, the international student international day at CMC.
Oh,
And we used to do the festival.
Oh, that is a long time ago.
I know. I don't think I've told that story since then.
So did you have to reread the book to remember all these parts again? Really?
That's one of the stories that I have basically told so many times because I would tell that every year at the international festival, and sometimes other times as well. But it kind of stuck. There are a few stories that I don't really have to go back to the source. I went over it in my head a little bit this afternoon to remember different things, but I didn't actually practice the whole thing.
Impressive.
It's nice to be able to do that. So I guess that's all of the stories for tonight. We do have a date for the spring concert. It's April 18th, and it's going to be at the Friends meeting on Harrison next to Pilgrim Place. I don't know how familiar you are with Claremont. Probably not. Yeah, okay. Well, I will be sending out information about it. It's 2 months from now. I've already got commitment from all of our storytellers.
Ooh.
We will have a full slate of 8 people, I think.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
We don't have to pay big bucks for
Right. Yeah.
somebody else to come in.
Yeah.
I love our story.
The not Christmas, but the Thanksgiving program, we had to hire 2 storytellers to fill the slate because everybody else couldn't make it. We only had 3 people that could tell. And so we hired 2 very good storytellers, and it was a great concert. Were you there, Barbara?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful
It was.
evening of stories.
So did you say April 16th?
18th.
18th? And that's a Saturday?
It's a Saturday from 2 to 4. And the next week at the same location is the Southern California Story Swap Festival.
Oh, wow. Back to back.
Back to back, yeah. And that is really unfortunate because it's the same date as the Bay Area Storytelling Festival, and I wanted to go up to that. But I'll stay down here for that.
You were going to go to Bay Area? Wow.
They don't stick to, last year they did the Bay Area Storytelling Festival in June. I guess they jump around date-wise. But I think whoever hosts the Story Swap Festival next year needs to coordinate that so they don't interfere with each other.
Yeah.
Because that's unfortunate. Do you have any announcements, Nick?
Well, I wanted to remind people that the genre storytelling concerts for SAC, the one this week is the Love Stories one. I'll be one of several people performing online this Wednesday night. And I think you've got the link to that Zoom channel, John, don't you?
Yeah. I can send that out.
Yeah, so that's this Wednesday night. We're doing the tech rehearsal tomorrow night to make sure things are working on everybody's ends.
I had an awful thing happen. I participated in a fundraiser for Artists Standing Strong Together.
Yes.
And I had switched internets, and I didn't realize it was happening. until I looked at the recording and my audio and video were out of sync.
Oh no.
And several times the screen just froze.
Oh,
So I felt really bad about that. That has since been fixed because I had made a switch to try to save money and saved a lot of money, but it wasn't adequate. So I went back to a fiber optic. I switched off of fiber optic to Wi-Fi internet, and it just didn't have the bandwidth to do Zoom.
Well, that's really weird because I have Wi-Fi connection from my computer to the fiber optic system that I've got for internet, and it seems to be generally adequate. So it may be that you just had a lousy Wi-Fi setup that they gave you.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went back to Frontier fiber optic. And what I should have done is what I should have, before switching, called Frontier and say, hey, you've gotten too expensive. Can you give me a break here? And they might have lowered their prices, and I wouldn't have gone through the hassle of switching. You know, the problem with doing transactions like this is you don't do it often enough to learn from your mistakes, you know?
you're committed for a year and
Yeah.
you can't undo.
I won't make that same mistake again, but it was certainly costly to do it this time.
Which service did you try to go with?
I have Verizon, so I've got a contract with them, so I now have two different internet providers, two networks in my house. And the way I decided to do it was my computer and the laser printer that's right next to me are on the fiber optic network, and the Wi-Fi internet from Verizon is the rest of the house. And that, so far, it seems to be working just fine. And it actually is less money to have the two than it was to have just Frontier. They had jacked the prices up so much. I mean, it almost doubled in the course of 5 years.
Wow.
So now I have both Frontier and Verizon, and actually Verizon bought out Frontier.
Right. So I was wondering about that when you said Verizon and Frontier. It's like, wait, aren't they the same company now?
Well, they decided to keep the name Frontier. So when I got the Frontier, it says Frontier, a subsidiary of Verizon.
Right.
But so I have two different bills. So is it raining now at your house, Nick?
It's only raining a little bit now,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to start again later.
Crazy winds?
Yeah, is it windy?
It didn't seem to be. It's not like the wall shattering stuff that we had a couple of times, but it was just raining so steadily for the last 12 hours or so.
Yeah. Well, I think do you have any other announcements, Nick?
No, that's all I have for right now.
Okay, well, enjoy your genre talk. I won't be there. Unfortunately, the third Wednesday of every month, I'm a Zoom host for a Sierra Club event every month. And so I never am able to participate in the genre things.
She made
Well, it looked like a good lineup of tellers, and I don't you have a way to get the thing from the archives to watch them later?
Oh yeah, I can watch it later.
Yeah.
SAC has a YouTube channel.
Right, because this lineup of tellers looks like it's going to be a fun one.
Good. All right. Well, enjoy that. I'm going to stop the recording now.
All right.
And have a good rest of the week.
All right, you too. And I may not be there for the next meeting because I have a conflicting Zoom meeting. So it depends on how long that one takes.